The Democrats have a new defense now. They are saying that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, they really didn't have anything shady going on at all. It was just an illusion. All of this evidence that we have been seeing here, all of these emails, you know, those 600 plus pages in the laptop, all of that is just an illusion. So that's what the Democrats are saying the Republicans are doing. Now, we've got a bunch of comments on this. We are seeing this strange little progression that is happening. Says that Representative Goldman is now using this new defense, and we've worked our way through this various stages. They're saying that Joe Biden originally never even spoke to Hunter. That was stage one. Then there was no evidence of Joe Biden's involvement. Okay, not that they didn't speak. Okay, maybe they did speak, but there's no evidence of his involvement. Okay, we heard that for like 24 hours. Then Karine came out and said Joe is not in business with Hunter. Like we didn't form any LLCs together. Then they changed this to, but Joe Biden's not getting paid by Hunter. And then now we have arrived at the evidence is just an illusion of influence. There was really no influence at all. And so Dan Goldman is now out here, and here is what he says.
With Hunter Biden
and who Devon Archer is and what he did and did not say yesterday in that meeting.
Devon Archer was Hunter Biden's business partner from 2013 to 2016, and he was most notably on the board of Burisma with Hunter Biden. And what he testified to yesterday completely absolves Joe Biden of any involvement in Hunter Biden's business world. And notwithstanding whatever alleged smoke Chairman Comer says there is, the witness testimony was very clear that Joe Biden was not involved in any of their business dealings. Joe Biden got no benefit. Joe Biden did not change any of his actions for the benefit of his son in any way, shape, or form. That Hunter may have, quote, promoted the illusion of influence on his father, but the witness was very clear that it was an illusion. There was no actual influence, and what the evidence has shown in this entire investigation, and we keep getting witness after witness who's supposed to be their star witness showing Joe Biden's connection, is the only evidence is that that Joe Biden's official actions ran counter to Hunter Biden's interests, because this witness said that Burisma believed they had the corrupt prosecutor general, and I quote what the witness said, under control, and they did not want him to be fired because that might mean that Burisma and their president would get investigated, and yet that's exactly what Joe Biden advocated. That's the only evidence at all of Joe Biden's connection in any way, shape, or form to Hunter Biden's business interests. And it begs the question, Hunter Biden has been investigated by the Department of Justice by a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney for 5 years, including all of the foreign business accounts.
That doesn't mean that it was a very thorough investigation. It just means they dragged their feet for 5 years so that they could let all of the other prior charges evaporate away because the statute of limitations expired.
It's foreign bank records, FARA violations, all that stuff. That's the Department of Justice's job. Congress's job is not to investigate a private citizen. Congress's job is oversight, and there must be some legislative purpose, and that has to connect to Joe Biden, and there is simply no connection.
So, as you say, and we've said many times on this show, there's just been no evidence. They've been given a ton of opportunities. James Comer last night on Hannity, what's the evidence? Hannity meeting with him, show us something. Well, all we have is smoke. We don't have any fire. And you would think, as you say, over many years, they would have found it by now. Do you concede at least, though, that it was unseemly for Hunter Biden, that it appears at least 20 times there was a business deal to just so happen to call up the Vice President of the United States and to suggest, look, Dan? I'm connected to people in high places. You want me on this deal?
Well, I think Hunter Biden has been open about that himself, that he certainly used his last name to benefit his own business interests. The question, though, is not whether Hunter Biden did anything. The question is whether he did have any influence or did have any access, and whether the president did anything to benefit Hunter. And what was clear in the testimony yesterday is that there were many.
A phone call from the vice president to people who you are selling access to you as the Biden name, that is a benefit to Hunter. The mere fact that he's on the phone, do you understand what that means? If I could get the vice president on the phone, what kind of power that is? Hold on a minute. Let me get the vice president of the United States on the phone. Like, as though that's not a benefit when you're sitting there with a bunch of people, you're saying, hey, I've got access to the most powerful people in Washington. Hire me to consult with you to get this thing done. A phone call is all it takes to show that you've got that influence. It's a direct benefit.
Any instances where Hunter Biden tried to get, quote, credit for something that his father did completely independent. And the key here is that they never discussed business. They said hello. It was, greetings, niceties, salutations, small talk.
Hey, son,
it was never
you.
involved with business. And even Devon Archer said that Joe Biden has no business experience, wouldn't have known what Hunter was doing, and was not interested nor ever discussed it. And so not only was there no evidence connecting Joe Biden, but the allegations that Joe Biden lied are wrong as well. He didn't discuss Hunter's business dealings.
So, Congressman, just because it is the source of so much smoke, could you just, with specifics, tell us these phone calls that were a matter of such discussion yesterday, like what were they about? What would then Vice President Biden say in these conversations?
How long
walk us through what happened.
How long were they called?
So let's put this in context. Beau Biden got very sick in early 2015. He died in the spring of 2015, which was right in the middle when Devon Archer had his business dealings with Hunter Biden. At that point, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden began to speak every day because they were both devastated by Beau's death. They spoke every day. The witness testified that over his 10-year relationship with Hunter Biden, there may be approximately 20 times when in one of those conversations, Hunter Biden would put his father at a dinner, not at a business meeting, at a dinner that he was having if he happened to get a hold of his father, and would ask his father to say hello to whoever was at the table. And that was essentially the extent of it. It was unclear, and the witness testified, this is not me saying that, the witness testified that a lot of times, most of the time, Joe didn't even know who the people were.
Why would you need to know?
The dinner table.
Yeah.
So this
do you need to know somebody in order to exercise influence?
Was just simply, this may have been Hunter's effort to say, hey, this is, the vice president, this is my dad. Okay. But the critical part here for Congress, and that's what we have to make sure we understand, is that Joe Biden was doing nothing to benefit his son.
And showing up at business meetings 20 times when Hunter's trying to show they've got access.
You used the word illusion a couple of minutes ago, and Congressman Comer, your chairman, appears to be trying to sell the illusion of deep criminality that Hunter Biden participated in. He also framed up the time period of 2013 through 2016, 2017, at which point Hunter Biden is alleged to have taken money from Ukraine and other countries where he was trying to do business with, and that's the source of some charges that he failed to register with the State Department or whoever you register.
No, the charges are not that he has not been charged with that.
I know, but if he were to be charged by this committee or the Justice Department, isn't the statute of limitations on all of those things, isn't it 5 years? Wouldn't it be over with? They couldn't do anything?
Possible, but this was a 5-year investigation. I'm sure at some point they would have been able to charge him if that were the case. We saw an email yesterday that was from the hard drive, so the witness was unable to authenticate it, that he could not violate FARA, and he hired attorneys, he hired a lobbying firm. His role was the corporate governance. And
put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that. I know exactly what line he's talking about in exactly the email. I have it queued up in the next segment. Hunter puts a line in there. We're going to follow the rules exactly. And then 2 lines later, he tells Devon Archer, by the way, go get a burner phone from 7-Eleven.
That has no basis in fact to continue with it. And every witness that they bring in continues to confirm that Joe Biden had nothing to do with it. So then begs the question, why are we...
That's not what they're confirming at all. This guy is just a pure propagandist being brought out by the Democratic Party. And how do we know that? Hunter wrote in this email. This is an email from Hunter Biden, Devon Archer, April 13th, 2014. Hunter, I believe this email was ripped off from one of Joe Biden's classified documents that he found in his garage. But this is what Hunter tells Devon Archer. He says, to that end, they need to know in no uncertain terms that we will not and cannot intervene directly with domestic policymakers, that we need to abide by FARA and any other U.S. laws in the strictest sense of the word, of the board, right? That's Hunter saying that. 2 paragraphs later, paragraph 22, he tells Devon, buy a cell phone from 7-Eleven or CVS tomorrow. All do the same, right? These guys are corrupt and they're just hacking this whole thing together. Now, this is another representative named Jim Hines who says they really are just talking about the weather, though.
The Republicans, it's just this internal primal urge to visit retribution on the Democrats. And the problem is They can't find.
You guys are literally prosecuting Trump on 3 different indictments right now, by the way.
A fact. So look, is there problematic questions about Hunter Biden? And I said something that shouldn't be controversial, which is that if you committed a crime, you should be held accountable. But have they pointed to anything to suggest that Joe Biden engaged in corrupt behavior? No. And on the contrary, Hunter Biden's business partner said, yeah, he was on some phone calls talking about the weather, exchanging pleasantries. You know, is that in the category of, you know, presidential family members that are problematic? Billy Carter, Hugh Rodham, maybe it's in that category, but it is sure and absolutely not a crime.
Not a crime, just the weather. So not even that big of a deal. Now we've got Jim Jordan and James Comer who, after the testimony, come out here and respond.
Where that money came from. Yeah, Sean, but it's all an illusion according to the Democrats. I mean, go back to that meeting that you and Jamie were just talking about, this illusion of access. They're having a board meeting in Dubai on December 4th, 2015. After the board meeting, Hunter Biden meets with Devon Archer, Zolochevsky, and Pizarski, the 2 key guys who run Burisma. They meet for drinks. During that meeting, they say, we need the U.S. government to intervene. We're under pressure from the prosecutor. We're facing pressure in Great Britain because they've sanctioned and seized our assets, £23 million in Britain. We need some help. They make a phone call to D.C. Mr. Archer, I don't know who they call, but they called D.C. And 5 days later, December 9th, 2015, Joe Biden is in Ukraine, and he gives a speech starting the pressure on the prosecutor in Ukraine.
Wow.
5 days after that meeting.
Wow.
5 days after a phone call to D.C. 5 days where they used the Biden brand. According to what we learned today, the Biden brand was the value Hunter Biden brought to this business arrangement. That took place simply 5 days later.
The brand was Joe, wasn't it, though?
And then, of course, we know, yeah, the brand was totally Joe Biden, the guy with the power and the connections in D.C. Right. But 5 days after that, this
Hunter Biden is not the brand, all right? That's not how that works.
This conversation takes place, this speech takes place, and then a few months later, that clip you just played, Shokin gets fired. That's how serious this was.
Let's talk, Jim Jordan, about the brand. Let's connect this also to the 1023 form.
Well, Mr. Comer's working on it. Our staff's working on the Oversight Committee. Chairman Comer, that's what we're trying to do, figure all that out. But here's the takeaway I have today, too, Sean. I thought today's testimony from Mr. Archer gave a whole new light to what happened last week. Remember last week, this deal they put together that the judge said, no deal. We're not going to do that because it was unprecedented, never seen anything like this. The deal they put together was designed to keep Burisma out of it. Remember, they weren't going to charge for 2014, 2015 tax years. They weren't going to do the felony charges because that's Burisma money. And the FARA allegation, the FARA concern derives from this action that took place in Dubai, where Hunter Biden is talking about how can the U.S. government, they're asking Hunter Biden, how can the U.S. government intervene and help us in this situation? So now we have some more light on that terrible deal they tried to put together last week, and why the judge, appropriately so, asked questions, and it's no longer going to happen.
20 times that they put Joe Biden on the phone was to talk to...
Let's see if we got Comer, what Comer says.
Not the brand.
Well, Devon Archer testified that they were influence peddling. We've wondered what the business was. I suspected it was influence peddling, but we heard today from someone on the inside. It was influence peddling. They sold Joe Biden. That's what the business was. And Joe Biden himself talked to every single person that has wired money to the Bidens. I mean, you've got a situation here where you look at those people who were wiring the money. A lot of those people aren't the most credible people in their countries. There are a lot of people who are in a lot of trouble in many of these countries who were sending wires to the Biden family. They needed help. They needed help from the government. That's why they paid the Biden family. They were influence peddling. And what Jim Jordan just mentioned, the FARA violation, that's Foreign Agents Registration Act, we know that Hunter Biden has violated that. Even the judge in Delaware last week cited that as one reason why she rejected the sweetheart plea deal. But what this did today, in my opinion, is open the door. Did Joe Biden violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act? Because he was an active participant in at least one deal we know of with the Burisma deal. He was actively participating in doing a benefit to this foreign agent for this foreign country, and he was withholding American tax dollars in the form of foreign aid for that. I mean, this is very serious. Today took a huge step towards implicating Joe Biden in many of these crimes. We're going to continue to press forward in our investigation.
Good stuff. And I think that they're going to continue to see more lines connecting the dots there, because it is the only logical conclusion. Hunter Biden is not a gas expert. He's a crackhead, and he was in and out of institutions for a long period of time, and he was the bag man for the Biden crime family. Byron Donalds agrees. Here's what he said when asked about how did the Bidens get so much property? Rehoboth Beach, worth $5.4 million. Wilmington, Delaware, worth $1.4 million.
He was able to buy these beach houses, millions and millions of dollars, is because his son was out there getting a bag for selling the family's name, basically Joe Biden's name, across the globe. Yep, there's no other way to do this. Look, I'm going to go back to my banking days on this one, Larry. Yeah. There is no way somebody's qualifying for a $5 million beach house when you're making $174,000 a year. It just ain't happening. You don't qualify for that one. And you definitely didn't save up enough in a deposit in order to put down that much. You just didn't do it. I'm sorry. Those are the facts, America. Joe Biden was on the take, and now he's luxuriating in the fact that he was on the take.
He is luxuriating, isn't he? He's lounging around on the beach, and, you know, he's just taking vacation all the time. But this is the Democrat creating this new talking point, the illusion of influence. Everything that you know and see, all the emails, all the phone calls, all the witnesses, it's just an illusion. It's not really happening. It's not real. It's just there.